Hello everyone. I recorded this video a couple times before, trying to get an idea of what I want to talk about on day 20. That's what this is. And first of all, I just wanted to show the chopsticks that I've been making. Don't know if you can see those. Yeah, I've been making a whole load of chopsticks made of some local oak, and they're going to be available on my Instagram fairly soon, along with the chopstick making workshop running at Open House in Hathersage, which is a really amazing place. Yeah, I guess the other thing I wanted to talk about today is how did my Birdspoons begin. I don't have one. This is a lefty bird spoon. I don't think the camera's going to pick it up. Why can't you just focus? Anyway, bird spoons. How did the little bird finial come about? I thought I'd talk about that. Well, it first started when I was visiting friends in North Devon, and I was carving in their big kitchen, and they had some really big windows, and they used to invite lots of birds into their kind of back garden. They had big French doors so you could really kind of see the birds coming in and out, and they lived really in the middle of nowhere in nature. And sat there, you know, a few days carving, and I used to try and really get a good spherical ball on the end of the spoon, until one day I think the wood maybe was a bit too soft, and I just made a kind of sharp cut diagonally, and kind of the ball was just sort of severed in quarter. And I saw this as an opportunity, and I thought, okay, what can I do with this? What can I make of this? Because I've already spent maybe 15 minutes carving this little ball. Let's not let it go to waste. And so I think maybe I carved like a little flame or something like that. And then I started looking at the shapes of the birds and things, and thinking, oh, how can I maybe I can make that into a little bit of a shape of a bird. And because they had a bird ID chart on the cupboard next to me, I was looking at the shapes of birds a lot. And so that's where it kind of got me thinking, maybe I could carve a bird. And initially it was a robin with the tail pointing downwards, but then I realized after making a handful of those that the tail would break off easily because of the short grain. And so that's one of the reasons for the wren and the tail pointing upwards, because then it follows the long grain, which is going to be much stronger. However, that wasn't the only reason for carving a wren. The other reason was I was staying with some friends at Brookhouse Woods, and I was staying in one of their shelters, and interestingly a wren was actually in the shelter already, because no one had been staying it for a while. It's kind of started to be taken over by the woods, and this wren was in there singing so loudly, and I thought, wow, I've never had the experience like that before. And then it flew out, and then I stayed in there that night, and then it came flying back in the morning, which was amazing, and started singing right next to my head. And as I was opening my eyes, I was really trying hard not to disturb it. So I guess that then started the affinity with wrens, and just thought, well, I've already started carving some wrens, and wow, and this experience, it seemed to kind of solidify that perhaps wrens was the way to go. So yeah, so Birdspoons, kind of an accident, a little mistake. And I really believe that mistakes are not something to try and avoid necessarily. And I think if you can take the time to just observe what is actually kind of going on, and you feel, for me anyway, working at a slower pace is really beneficial for opening up my creative mind. Yeah, I think that's something that's really important for me. I like to allow for mistakes, and to be able to constantly keep looking and checking and thinking, what can I make of these? How you know, what does this look like? Yeah. And actually, I should say, you're not going to be able to see it on here, but some of the finials on the chopsticks, yeah, I didn't really have much inspiration whilst doing these, and I thought, well, actually sometimes inspiration comes not from necessarily external, but it can actually come from just making and just sort of seeing what happens, seeing what comes of that. And sometimes it's a bit like when I was sketching. I'd need to make a few sketches that were a bit rough and kind of unfocused until I could start honing in on an idea, and that came from the tactile quality of actually making. Yeah, I think that's all I'd like to talk about today. Day 20, 10 more days. Whew, it's definitely getting easier. However, yeah, this next 10 days, I think that's going to be that's we're going to get into the nitty gritty, I guess. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're feeling well, and I'll see you in the next one.